Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
President Trump just blew the lid off biggest scandal in U.S. history. Trump's administration has uncovered a frightening, and deadly, fact. The Department of Veterans Affairs has been letting its hospitals hire doctors and nurses with revoked medical licenses. Apparently this has been happening for the past 15 years. Clearly, and for good reason, it violates federal laws. In direct contradiction to a 1999 law that bars any VA from hiring a healthcare worker whose licenses had been revoked in any state, in 2002 the VA distributed guidelines that allowed its hospitals to hire doctors and nurses that had a license in one of the 50 states, even if they had, previously, been subject to a license revocation. A report by USA Today starts out, veteran patients in imminent danger at VA hospital in D.C., investigation finds. Among the findings, in February 2016, a tray used in repairing jaw fractures was removed from the hospital because of an outstanding invoice to a vendor. In April 2016, 4 prostate biopsies had to be cancelled because there were no tools to extract the tissue sample. In June 2016, the hospital found one of its surgeons had used expired equipment during a procedure. In March 2017, the facility found chemical strips used to verify equipment sterilization had expired a month earlier, so tests performed on nearly 400 items were not reliable. Missal said that the practices have placed patients at unnecessary risk, though so far, the Office of Inspector General has not determined if patients were harmed. The OIG's work is continuing and will include an assessment of whether patient harm has resulted from any of these inventory practices in its final report on the medical center, he wrote. That report goes on to explain that the conditions at the Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Washington, D.C., are so dangerous that the agency's chief watchdog group actually put out a report alerting patients about the issues at that organization. Apparently multiple issues were found at that location, such as lack of critical supplies, including bone material needed for knee replacement surgeries and tubes needed for kidney dialysis, due to an ineffective inventory system. Worse, perhaps, than the lack of an effective system was the fact that the Inspector General found that senior VA leaders knew about the problems for months but did nothing to rectify it. In addition to this finding, the investigators reviewed 25 sterile storage areas and found that 18 of them were dirty. These types of reports from the Inspector General are, in fact, not commonly made, with the last one having occurred in January 2015. The Washington VA's medical director, Brian Hawkins, has since been relieved of his position and placed on administrative leave. In addition to the immediate danger posed by these issues, there is the larger issue of whether or not a government-run healthcare system, as promoted by many liberals, would be able to provide quality healthcare to U.S. citizens. If this VA debacle is any indication, it most certainly would not. She is sick, Barbra Streisand blames our president for Florida shooting. Trump brings out the violence in people. Barbra Streisand is directly blaming President Trump for the mass shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Streisand said that Trump affected shooter, Nicholas Cruz, who murdered 17 on February 14. Trump brings out the violence in people, Streisand claimed in a recent interview with Variety magazine. Streisand, on some level, feels that Trump shares the blame for the recent Florida high school shooting, which claimed the lives of 17 students and teachers. I think even that shooter was affected because Trump brings out the violence in people. He says, "It's okay, rally, lock her up." Streisand was referring to President Trump's rally chant about rival Hillary Clinton, but the article did not elaborate how it was connected to the school shooting. In the interview, Streisand, a lifelong Democrat, also said that Trump embodies the nasty remarks he makes about other people. He's a liar. He's crooked. She added that Hillary was just too smart in her 2016 election loss and floated conspiracy theories that Trump rigged the election. "I really believe she won the election," she claimed. "I've talked to senators from Michigan and Wisconsin. I do believe, like I believed during Bush, they were playing with those voter machines. And, Al Gore lost by 537 votes out of 104 million. And now, in retrospect, Bush looks quite good compared to Trump." The talk then turns to the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, with Streisand saying she thinks that President Trump's braggadocious nature and public comments fueled the teenager who murdered 17 people. "I think even that shooter was affected because Trump brings out the violence in people. He says, 'It's okay, rally, lock her up,'" explains the actress. She characterizes Trump at one point by saying, "He embodies the nasty remarks he makes about other people. He's a liar. He's crooked." Streisand also reveals that she was with Clinton on the day she infamously called Trump supporters a basket of deplorables during her campaign. "She was sick," explains Streisand. "I was giving her tea. I was like, 'Here, these are good lozenges, and you're coughing and you got to keep drinking liquids.' I didn't know she had pneumonia." 2 days later, Clinton collapsed while leaving an event paying tribute to the victims of 9/11 at Ground Zero. Immigrants caught telling blatant lie for U.S. citizenship, but Sessions is making them regret it. Protecting our nation comes in many forms. President Trump wants to build a wall to prevent illegals from entering the country. But what about people who seek legal status? Immigrants going through the citizenship process are held up to close scrutiny. For good reason. We don't give citizenship to criminals or anyone viewed as dangerous. Why should we? The safety of Americans is at stake. But it looks like a handful of new citizens lied to the government about their past. It has Sessions fuming mad. From Western journalism. The Department of Justice announced Thursday it is seeking to strip U.S. citizenship from 5 naturalized immigrants who lied about their histories of criminal sexual abuse during the naturalization process. The individuals willfully concealed child sexual abuse crimes they'd committed prior to naturalizing, according to the federal court's civil complaints. "Those who wish to become American citizens ought to respect our laws and seek citizenship lawfully and honestly," Attorney General Jeff Sessions said in a statement. The 5 defendants, Ricardo de Leon, 32, Christian Orbeliguelos, 40, Carlos Noe Gallegos, 41, Alvin Farouk Garaiba, 51, Moises Javier Lopez, 42, all lied about their criminal histories on application forms and during in-person interviews with immigration officials, according to DOJ. In each case, the defendants plead guilty to at least one state charge of sexual abuse of a minor before applying for citizenship. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I can't imagine anyone within government willing to give convicted molesters citizenship. Well, maybe a few Democrats. It was highly unlikely that these people, who plead guilty of such crimes, would have gotten citizenship. So they lied about it. Maybe, if they had been honest, the government could have seen to it that they were granted citizenship. Perhaps in the years since their conviction, they proved to be law-abiding. People can reform, after all. It would have been a long shot, given the laws, but you never know. However, the fact that they lied raises numerous red flags. What else might they be lying about? Have they committed similar crimes since then, but have eluded authorities? Maybe they are doing more than just assaulting minors. We don't know. And the fact that they lied makes matters worse. Sessions has every right to revoke the citizenship of these people. Most likely, they should have been deported for their crimes. The fact that they earned citizenship is shocking. How many more like them are out there? HT Western Journalism. Outrage after Trey Gowdy exposes secret FBI plan to overthrow Trump, Dems are furious. Over the past few weeks, it's become blatantly obvious that White House Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into President Donald Trump's alleged collusion with Russia is nothing more than a witch hunt. Now, South Carolina Representative Trey Gowdy has finally had enough. Western journalism reported that Gowdy went on Fox News on Monday night with fellow Republican lawmaker John Ratcliffe to talk about the newly discovered text messages that add to accusations that the FBI may be harboring anti-Trump bias in their investigation of Russian collusion. The text exchanges were between FBI agent Peter Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page, who was his mistress. The texts make it clear that Strzok and Page have an intense dislike of Trump, with the agent even implying that a secret society exists among federal agents to prevent Trump from entering the White House. We know about this insurance policy that was referenced in trying to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president. We learned today about information that in the immediate aftermath of this election, that there may have been a secret society of folks within the Department of Justice and the FBI, to include Page and Strzok, that would be working against him, Ratcliffe said. I'm not saying that actually happened, but when folks speak in those terms, they need to come forward to explain the contexts with which they use those terms. It's the day after the election and it's the same two people who were discussing a little bit later in the texts the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could fix it and make it right, Gowdy said. That is a level of bias that is stunning among law enforcement officers. In another damning text message, Strzok suggested that there was some sort of insurance policy in place in the event that Trump were to win the presidency. I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way he gets elected, but I'm afraid we can't take that risk. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40, the married Strzok wrote to Page. Last week, the Department of Justice announced that it had somehow lost 5 months' worth of texts between Strzok and Page. The DOJ said that all texts between December 14, 2016, to May 17, 2017, were no longer available, and Republicans immediately called foul. It is possible these text messages that are missing, perhaps they really were lost. Perhaps it is another strange coincidence, Ratcliffe stated. It makes it harder and harder for us to explain one strange coincidence after another. We can only hope that Gowdy, Ratcliffe, and their fellow Republicans are able to get to the bottom of this and finally put a stop to Mueller's witch hunt against Trump. Share this story if you think Robert Mueller's investigation should be disbanded. HT Western Journalism